Number 3 is what I call opportunistics. Now, opportunistics, what I mean by opportunistics is that this third toxicity, you need to have an opportunity. You have to give the body an opportunity to become susceptible to this particular type of toxicity. And believe it or not, modern medicine has actually done a pretty good job with the opportunistics. When I'm talking about opportunistics, I'm talking about the bacteria, the virus, the spirochetes, the mycoplasma, the yeast, those type of things. So we have antifungals, we have antibacterials, we even have antivirals now. So modern medicine has done a good job with that, but what they've forgotten is, why does a person become susceptible to it? What kills a person with AIDS? Anybody know? A common cold will kill a person with AIDS, because their immune system's been shot. So what you have to remember is that these opportunistics, they need to have an environment that's been created in order for them to become as bad as they can be. So a common cold isn't going to kill any of us, but if somebody had HIV, that same common cold can kill them. So that's why that opportunistic needs that environment. Some people get colds more often. Why? Because their immune system is lower. And then you have those people that say, oh, I've never been sick a day in my life. Those are the worst people. You got to really be careful, because if a person's never been sick a day in their life, that means their immune system is really not functioning. Remember, fever is a good thing. The body's responding. But if you don't get a fever, that's not a good sign. Okay? Remember that. So the opportunistics, the body needs an opportunity to be created in order for these opportunistics to actually have their damaging effect. And so if you look at it from the perspective of heavy metals causes an immunosuppression, the first toxicity, and the second toxicity, the persistent organic pollutants cause immunosuppression. If you have that immunosuppression, then you're going to have these opportunistics that allow the environment to be set up so they can set up house, and then they cause their damage. So that's the third toxicity, the opportunistics. What can you do to prevent that? Address number 1, heavy metals, and 2, persistent organic pollutants. And guess what? You really won't have to deal too much with number 3. And if you do have to deal with number 3, then there's some natural things that you can do to actually get rid of those things and not have to worry about them. So I'll give you an example. I haven't had to take antibiotics for the last probably 5 years, up until maybe 10 days ago. And that's because I stepped on a sea urchin and got my foot messed up, and then I thought everything was fine, and then it got worse. And one of my friends who's a plastic surgeon had to go in and open it up and cut it up and everything so he could let things drain out, and put me in 2 different courses of antibiotics. And I took the antibiotics, and guess what? Antibiotics finished, and my foot still wasn't better until I started doing some other things, some natural things. Then my foot remained the same. So the point being, again, antibiotics, there's a place to use antibiotics, but I'm finding that there's more and more resistance to certain types of antibiotics because we've used these things indiscriminately. Okay? So really, you don't want to use an antibiotic if at all possible, because God forbid, if you ever really need one, it's probably not going to work because there's so much drug resistance. Does anybody know what MRSA is? Methyl-resistant Staph aureus. It's one of the biggest problems in hospitals right now because it's resistant to all the antibiotics. How many people remember taking an antibiotic, and now when you take an antibiotic, that same antibiotic won't work anymore? There's a big hand up there, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So 4 people, 5. Okay. So that's the third toxicity. So first one's heavy metals, second one's persistent organic pollutants, third one is the opportunistics. Now these first 3 are tangible. You can measure them. You can see them. They're not measurable, they're not tangible, so people may end up having a hard time appreciating the significance of the next 4.